If you've been thinking about getting out of the real estate business, this story is for you, because we are talking with Andy Hollis today from Gulf Shores, Alabama, and he tells his story about how he was literally just weeks away from getting out of real estate after being in the business for 10 years and just completely fed up, had bought leads the entire time, but never really truly understand how to just build a business from it. He said after 10 years, he would not be able to tell a new agent what to do when they were starting out. But now, since he's learned the power of passive prospecting and implementing the systems that we've put into place, he has now generated over $5 million in production in the last 2 months. Can you imagine that? And now his outlook is a true understanding of what to do, how to do it, and the results that he can expect from that. Now here's the deal. After this, he said with 100% confidence, you could drop him in any real estate market in the country and he would have a thriving business within 6 months. And if he was talking to a new agent, he would be able to help them with the clear path of what they should do and focus on as well in their business. It's a truly inspiring story, and especially in an area like Gulf Shores, Alabama, not one of the largest markets in the US, of course, and someone that is later in their career, weeks away from getting out of the business, doesn't have much hope or much to look forward at all. But listening to a friend that got him to an event where he got to see me speak at Build, and he said that was the shift, that was the change. So I cannot wait to share with you the story of Andy Hollis, and let's jump in. And welcome Andy from Orange Beach, California. How you doing today?
Oh, it's Alabama, but yeah.
Oh, what'd I say? Orange Beach, California. Oh, yeah. Orange Beach, Alabama. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I was thinking probably Orange.
California.
Yeah, I was thinking Orange County probably. I had that in my head. That's right. Good catch. Good catch, though. All right. Orange Beach, Alabama. All right. Well, Andy, so good. How long, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in real estate there?
I've been in real estate for about 10 years. I was in the car business actually before that. I've been in every position in the car business you could possibly be in, but for the past 12 and a half years before I got into real estate, I was a sales manager or GSM at a big Ford store in Columbus, Georgia. So, just got tired of working 6 days a week, 14-hour days, and I figured, and I had a friend of mine, her name's Aileen Fountain. She's with EXP Realty, and she was like, look, come into real estate. I think you'd be great at it.
Okay.
So
is she your partner?
She is. Yeah.
Okay. Is she coming on our call today?
No, she she's busy. The way we're doing this YouTube channel thing is I'm basically doing the majority of the filming, all the editing. I handle the YouTube side of things, and she handles the real estate side of things. Okay. So, it's worked out great that way because Aileen has built a tremendous business on her own. She did last year by herself, she did $40 million worth of real estate in this little bitty, in little bitty Orange Beach, Alabama. So, if you're going to find a partner, you might as well find one who's being successful. It's the old saying, if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. If you want to be a loser, then hang out with losers. So,
That's right. Well, we definitely don't hang out with losers here. So,
right.
So that's good. So what were you doing before to generate leads?
Well, just like everybody else, I was on that, that whole hamster wheel of buying real estate leads from realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia. I think I was spending on average of about $1,500 a month. You might get 10 leads a month, and you might convert one of those into actually talking to you. And then you cultivate that one for 6 months, and then it just might turn into something. So you know how it goes. Those things are, you get 100 leads and you might convert 3 of them. So I was sick and tired of chasing them. Plus, you never got to take any time off. It was always, if the phone rings, you better answer it, because if you don't answer it, if you don't chase that lead immediately, then they go to somebody else. So, it's just the nature of the beast. You're just constantly on that hamster wheel. And I just was sick of it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the way you started out 10 years ago, just buying leads from the start?
Yep, right off the bat, trying to, because as a new agent, you really don't know how to work your sphere. You don't have much of a sphere, in the first place. Aileen was trying to help me out a little bit. She would throw me a lead here every day. If it was below her threshold, which is for her at this point, anything, or it was anything below 500 grand, she really didn't want to fool with. It was kind of like she'd just rather get a referral because those, $1 million customer is a lot different, than a $500,000 customer. I mean, a lot different. So she just didn't want to chase those leads. So she was giving them to me, which, was greatly appreciated, because at the time I was hungry. So, I would chase anything. I was running to Alberta for a $90,000 trailer, so it didn't matter to me. So, yeah.
All right. And had you made any videos before?
No, not really. I mean, way back in the day, in the car business, we do some TV advertisements every now and then, and I always hated it. That I'd get in a TV commercial and I just absolutely hated it. I was scared to death of the video. I mean, I just did not want to be in front of the camera at all. I mean, so yes and no, I did, but I hated it. So I tried to stay away from it as much as I possibly could. So,
yeah. Well, how do you feel about the camera now?
Oh, it's second nature now. Nothing to it. After we've done, I think now I'm at right at 100 videos, I believe. We've done 100 long form videos and about 100 shorts, which I've just cut those long form into shorts. But yeah, so basically about 100 videos. But yeah, after 100, you get used to it.
All right, there you go. And how did you find us?
Well, I found you. It's kind of an interesting story. So August of 2022, Aileen and I I was basically having a discussion with my wife. We're very spiritual. So I was basically about ready to just get out of real estate and get back in the car business. I was just so tired of it. And it just didn't seem like it was my cup of tea. I was like, because in the car business, everything's just instant. Somebody comes to you, they buy a car, instantaneous. They're off the lot. It's done. But with real estate, I was having to chase these people for so long, and it just seemed like I was having to beg for business. And I told my wife, I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just don't think this is for me. So, she said, well, don't do anything hasty. Just pray about it. Let's talk about this for a little bit longer. And I said, well, I'm going to give it 30 more days. I said, and I'm basically going to, just see what happens in that 30 days. So Aileen contacted, she's like, listen, if you will get plugged in, she said, there is a build event coming in Dallas. She said, it's very useful information. I want you to go. I want to, she could tell I was ready to get out of the business. She said, I want you to go, and if you will promise me for the next month that you'll plug into every meeting that there possibly is, every training, just really get yourself immersed. She said, I'll pay your way to go to Dallas. So I said, okay. So I did. I was checking in with her daily. It's good to have somebody to really check in with, that keeps you accountable. And so anyway, I was plugging in, and then we go to Dallas. And then the first day we were there in Dallas, it was kind of like, they're teaching, it's the same old thing. Everybody just seemed to be saying the same thing. You got to make the phone calls, you got to do this, you got to do that. All the people on stage, not that they weren't good, and that kind of stuff works for people. But for me, I was just sitting there going, it's not going the way I wanted it to go. So I called my wife and I said, listen, I don't even know if I'm going to tomorrow's deal at Build. I'm just going to, I'm just ready to come back home. I'm going to get back in the car business. I'm done with this. So Aileen called me that morning and she said, come downstairs. We got to go to this. There's just one guy I want you to see. And it happened to be you. And she said, I want you to see this one guy. So we sat there through your presentation at Build. And I mean, 10 minutes into your presentation, when you were talking about all these numbers and everything that you were saying, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. This is what I want to do. So I looked at Aileen and I said, this is what I'm going to do. She said, no, this is what we're going to do. She said, this is the reason I brought you.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and that was it. That was where it changed. So I left there, went straight home, told my wife, I said, listen, I said I was going to give it 30 more days. I think I'm going to give it at least another 6 months, and we're going to see how this thing works. I said, but I'm going to dive headfirst into this. And Aileen had bought your program. And so she said, here's the login information. You go do it. I don't have time to do it. She said, I want to do it, but I want you to handle the technical side of it, and I'll handle the real estate side. And so the rest is history. So,
Man.
a lot of hard work, but
Yeah, I didn't even know the full story on that. So that's amazing. I'm really happy that you found what you were looking for. And it's funny how, like you said, how God works sometimes. It's just you go to some things reluctant. I mean, kind of like my story. I got into real estate reluctantly. I was not looking to become a real estate agent, but I said, you know what? If I see a path, if I see a way that I could make this work. And so have a plan. I had a plan before I moved into real estate, where most people will move into real estate and then try to figure out a plan, and then they're spinning their wheels for the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And if they don't have a lot of money, that typically forces them out of the business, because they can only survive so long without generating business.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's an amazing story. And I'm glad that there's several people that have told me that build presentation just changed the direction of their business, and have been doing things differently ever since then. So now it wasn't all glamorous in the beginning. I believe you told me, because we gotta hang out for a few minutes you were in Dallas the last month or so for an event, and we got to hang out just for a few minutes at a little happy hour. And I think you're telling me it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns in the beginning, right? So you didn't really find as much traction. Now, again, Orange Beach, smaller market, but at the same time, a lot of opportunity there, especially being a beach community, in my opinion. But I also do believe Orange Beach, the whole Gulf Shores, I think from there, over to Florida, like Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, I think that's all. I feel like it's kind of like the forgotten beach town. I mean, it's because it's really beautiful water, beautiful sand, but it's just not, people don't look to that as, you have to be in the know almost. It's where people, it's like very specific, or somebody that told you about it, or you have a family member or something like that. It's not really seen as the overall destination. So smaller market, not really, I would say mainstream. That may be the good word for it, right? And so you started the channel, and it didn't pop off at the beginning, correct?
No, it took us probably about 4 months before we got the first phone call. And then the first few phone calls that we got were just basically, I'm looking to retire in about 3 years, that kind of thing. Those were the first couple of phone calls.
Oh, you love the planners, right? The planners.
Yeah.
I'm going to be moving in 30 years. Yeah.
But we're like, okay, well, it's never too early to look. So, we put them on a search, and, and said we'd keep in touch with them, which we have. And then we got a phone call where a lady was like, listen, I watch your videos. And, these phone calls are remarkable. I hear you say it all the time, but when you get that first phone call, when they go, is this the guy from the YouTube channel?
Yep.
And you go, yeah, like you're famous or something. And you're like, yeah, it's me. I can't believe you answered the phone. Well, who else would answer the phone? But we finally turned the very first one. It took, probably about 4 months before we got the first phone call. And then it took us about 3 months after that to convert that one into a sale.
Okay.
So about 7 months, and then it just started to domino. So we've closed at date. I think we've closed right at $3 million worth of property. We've closed 4 deals so far. We've got another one closing this week, Thursday. We've got about 4 more in the works, so about another $2 million in the works. So that are just this close to closing. So yeah, I mean, it's starting to catch ground now. The market's kind of shifted, and it's down, but and where we were getting on average of about 5 to 6 phone calls a week last month, now we're getting about 1 or 2 phone calls a week is about all we're getting. But we've decided just to double down, so instead of doing 2 videos a week like we were doing, now we're doing 1 every other day. And I've already gotten all of our videos posted and they're done all the way out to the end of October. So I'm 2 months ahead in video. So, and then if we get a listing or something, we'll pop it in between and kind of move some stuff around, that kind of thing. If we, get a new listing. So, but yeah, that's the plan, is just to double it down and hopefully keep that phone ringing. And I think we're set up for success in the fact that, and this better than anybody, but I think we're set up for success by doing this up to this point, that when the interest rates do drop and the market shifts back and opens wide open, we're trying to get to the point now where we're preparing ourselves to be so busy that we're not going to be able to handle it. We're going to have more people. So
absolutely. I mean, I think this is the best thing you can do. And think about this. So when you got that first deal closed, that it took 7 months to close the first deal. How long ago was that you closed the first one?
We closed it in the 1st of June.
Okay. Yeah. So that's perfect, because June, July, I mean, you're really over the next 2 months, then you're talking about $5 million in business in 2 months. So, I mean, you divide that by 6, then you could be on a path for 30 million in production if you maintain. And think about it, 7% interest rates. I mean, yes, the market is completely upside down. Inflation's was at all-time highs. It's still way too high anyways right now. Just the market is concerned. I would say that the market is concerned. People are, when we've seen this as well, lead calls are down, but our conversion is higher. So the people that are calling us are serious, or they need to make a move, or seriously want to make a move right now. So even though we've seen decrease in leads, we're seeing almost twice the amount in conversion, which I'll take that all day long, especially if lead flows down. But I mean, you get on this path and just think about what you said. I believe is so powerful. 7 months to close the first deal, where most people would have quit in month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, or month 6. And now with over the last 2 months, $5 million in business, which means if you just maintain that over the next 12 months from now, you could potentially do about 30 million in business. And yes, if interest rates drop any, I think, yes, everything's going to completely compound at that standpoint. So everything you're doing right now, it's what we did last year whenever the market shifted. I doubled down on content, and that's what kept us alive, because we still had the phone ringing for the people that were looking to move in that time frame. So I think that's a really, really strong testament to your willingness to stick it out and to work through several months without getting paid, especially when you were on the brink of about to quit the industry altogether, and now on a different path, huh?
Yeah, and I'll tell you that I not only got some, after watching you at the build event and then going through the program, the passive prospecting program, the whole thing, I watched all those, everything that was involved, but then I got plugged in, so then I was watching you on everything you were doing. I was watching, the whole podcast, every single thing. And it seemed there was a theme, and I was taking notes, and it seemed like the same word kept coming up in every single note that I had. I mean, I've got pages and pages and pages of notes of, when you change something, I change something. When you said, well, this is working, then I change it, or this ain't working, I change it. But it was consistency, and it was constant consistency. It was just every day you got to grind every day, just keep digging. And that's what we're doing at this point. That's what we've been doing. And, there's so much more work involved on my end of it than it is on Aileen's end of it. But, she's working just as hard trying to build the team. We've hired a buyer's agent, a full-time buyer's agent. We're looking at 2 more to come on board because we're expecting this thing to be we're expecting it to blow up. like Michael Reese says all the time, well, this thing's about to blow up. And I really feel that. I mean, I feel like it's about to blow up. So, but yeah, it's consistency. It's just stay in the grind always. So,
Yeah.
and it's given me a lot more free time too. Like I said before, I don't have to worry about the phone ringing as much anymore because we have someone answering the phone, and this thing is prospecting for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so, I can actually go out of town and have a good time and not have to worry about if my phone rings, if I'm somewhere where I can't hear it, that I'm not worried about losing a lead, so
yeah,
it's made life a whole lot easier, even though it took a lot of work to get to this point, and there's still a lot of work left to do. It's just making it a lot easier. So
yeah, that's great. So what's one of the biggest things you've learned working through this process that surprised you?
Well, one of the biggest things I've learned is the warmth of the leads that call you. I mean, it's amazing how they're just like that. They act like they love you and they've known you their whole life. I mean, it really is that. I mean, that's true. I never have, like before, you get a lead from realtor.com, you pick up the phone, you call them, they may have hit the button by accident. They didn't even mean to contact an agent. And then you're sitting here saying, how can I help you? You don't even know what, why they even hit the button or anything else. But and then you get all the negative stuff with them. They're like, well, I didn't really mean to hit the button, or you give them 9,000 pieces of information, and then they go, well, yeah, thank you so much for helping us, and we appreciate the information, but my cousin's Fred's neighbor's husband is a realtor down there. We're going to use him. So that was the kind of stuff I was getting from realtor.com and Trulia and all that. But with these, when you answer that phone and you say, hey, this is Andy from the OBA Living YouTube channel, and they go, oh, this is the YouTube guy, and then they feel like they know you, they've known you their whole life. They start talking about this video or that video, and I usually try to ask them, what video drove you to the channel, what made you pick up the phone, and like you've said before, 95% of the time it's always, we just feel like we can trust you, and I'm like, okay, great, perfect.
Or they're kind of like, we watched them all. I mean, nobody's ever really said, oh, you're one. I take that back. The very first call, they referenced a very specific video because that was the neighborhood they wanted to move to, and it was a neighborhood that nobody had ever done any videos on in Dallas, and so that was very specific. But most of the time now, it's everybody just says, I don't know, I just watch them all. I watch them all. Yeah. But I do know I want to move to Frisco or Plano. They have it narrowed down, and this is such a huge time saver for us being in a large area like Dallas where there's 55 suburbs, instead of coming to you, or you meet a lead and they're like, yeah, I'm not sure where I want to live. How about you drive me around every single, suburb of Dallas? And it's like, oh no. But now they'll come to us and say, no, we've got it narrowed down to 2 areas, which is a lot easier to deal with. And then are you finding these people are decision makers, contracting very quickly?
Yeah, some of them are. I mean, we still have some that call that, are months out or whatever, or they don't really know. Like you said, we're a vacation destination. So, they see the videos, but they're not real 100% sure what area they want to be in, or they want more information on investing, that kind of thing. We're getting a lot of that lately. But now we had one just about a month ago. The guy called. He saw, it was one of our videos on a neighborhood here called Somersault, and it's very rare because Orange Beach they don't allow short-term rentals on housing. They're trying to stick everything to the beach, to condos. Okay. So there's very few areas where you can actually buy a house and that you can do a VRBO or an Airbnb or whatever. There's very few areas. Well, this happened to be one of them, and it was a new construction. And the guy actually just called and he said, hey, I saw your video on Somersault that my wife and I want to buy in there. We've already been there and looked at it in person. We didn't really want to deal with the listing agent. So we've already picked out the house. All we need you to do is write up the contract. And it was in a cash deal. And it was like, okay. And it's, 780 grand. We're like, yeah, okay. And we closed in 7 days.
Wow.
So it was like, and it was like just a slam dunk deal. So, and again, they were just like, we just felt like watching your videos that we could just trust you. And not only did we hook them up, we, sold them the house, but we also hooked them up with the interior decorator that got all the stuff put in their house for rental. We hooked them up with a rental company. So we're getting a referral from the rental companies now. So, everything that we did, we got paid on by helping them. And it was just a matter of one phone call. And it was like, okay, I'll take those all day. I'll take 20 more of them this week. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So what would you say to those out there that are thinking about doing this or just getting started? I mean, what would you say to yourself right now if you were starting over?
Well, I'll tell you some of the things that Aileen and I had this very conversation Friday. We usually have a weekly meeting every Friday. And we talked about the fact that, because we've got some other stuff in the works, as you know, by me going to the boot camp with Michael Reese. But anyway, so we got some of that other stuff, and we're trying to figure out what we can offer. But it's like I told her, I said, if you took me right now as a brand new agent, if you stripped everything away and you said, and you're going to put me in an area, let's say, my wife works for, she does cybersecurity for the government. So she's in Washington, D.C. for the next 3 months. So I said, let's just say Washington, D.C., if you just dropped me in that area, I knew nobody. And you said, here you go, here's your real estate license. I want you to build a real estate company. You got 6 months to do it. I said, I now know how to do it. That's the biggest thing. Before, I wouldn't know where to start. I would just be completely lost. I'd be scrambling around, panicking, didn't know what to do. Now, at least in my mind, if you did that to me, I would have a plan. I would know what to do, so my biggest fear with getting started on the video is I thought it was going to cost an arm and a leg, because I thought, well, I got to go buy this expensive camera and you got to do all this other stuff. But we still do all of our filming with an iPhone, so we're not to that point. We're not real fancy on our videos. We don't have a lot of editing tricks and all this other stuff, because I do all the editing. That's the other thing. I wanted to learn it, and I know that even in your passive prospecting program, you're like, hire an editor. First thing, hire an editor. But I didn't want to do that because I wanted to learn the back end of it, so that when I did hire an editor, I could say, look, this is the way I want it done, and I would know what I was talking about. So I think we're to that point now. We're about to hire an editor and probably a videographer. So, it's got to, because I'm getting to the point where I can't make, 4 or 5 videos a week by myself. I'm going to have some help. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if with this program, by doing the YouTube thing, that you absolutely, if you drop me in a place that, I didn't know nothing or nobody, and I was right by myself, I would say within 3 to 4 months, I could have a thriving real estate business, just by doing that. So
it's amazing. I mean, think about that. 10 years in the business. And before this, you would have said, still, I wouldn't know how to really get somebody up and going or help somebody else, or even myself. Think if you move, think how powerful that is, because how many times have real estate spouses been caught up in their spouse moving because of a job, and they go to a new area and they're kind of like, that's probably the most dreaded thing is starting over. I mean, that's what I faced in 2020. That's why I didn't want to be a real estate agent, because I could do it, but I did not have the desire to start from the bottom, cold calling and door knocking and building relationships and going to friends and family and saying, oh, guess what? I'm an agent now, make sure you use me, because I've had my license for a month now, so you should definitely trust me, right? And so I didn't want to do any of that. And so now you're right. I mean, I could go to any market in the world, in the world too. I mean, that's the other thing. And because of the knowledge you have now, and that's so key. And that's what we've spent the first year and a half, 2 years in our business reinvesting in ourselves and our knowledge and our skills. Instead of really doubling down on marketing. This year, we're going to be making the move into more marketing efforts, and because we've consumed so much, but we've been working on our skills so that we know not just with what we're doing, but what we've built now, how to revamp that and restart it over and again. And so, I've got, my dream one day is to build out, I purchased some land in Belize and guess what? People buy and sell real estate down there. And so my ultimate goal is to be a farmer down there on that, to build out an amazing, resort / working farm at the same time, offer like a true jungle experience. But at the same time, I could sell some real estate down there. And you know what I would do? I would start a channel and start attracting American and international investors in that area.
Yeah.
And I know how to do it. And that's such a huge takeaway just from this, is think about what you've just learned, and you can do that now wherever you go.
Right.
And that was the case. I talked to the Gleasons. It was funny. The Gleasons also, they saw me at Build, and that's what spurred them, because they'd been buying leads for 18 years, but they just retired and moved to Virginia, whole new market. And what did they dread? They dreaded starting over. They were retired, but they still wanted to do some real estate, right? They're kind of like, man, we would love to sell some real estate, even like part-time, but what are we going to do? We're retired. We want to enjoy our time. We don't want to sit around cold calling and door knocking and, going to all these networking events and things like this. And they saw this and they're like, oh, not only can we learn the new area, but we can share that with others. And if we can attract business, and that's exactly what they're doing now. So it's just amazing to see how it works. Well, good. So let me wrap it up with anything else that you'd like to share. Anything I didn't ask you that you might want to share, or is any other words of wisdom you have for us today?
Well, the biggest thing is, like you said, consistency. I mean, with us, and it doesn't take a big channel to do it either. Most people think, oh, I gotta have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 subscribers to have an impact. Well, you don't. I mean, we have just broke 1,000 subscribers. We're at actually 1,068 subscribers. But the biggest thing with us is, and I talked to another agent the other day, because they were kind of saying, well, they didn't want to do it this way. They wanted to do, they were talking a different avenue, but they were talking about buying Google ads and, promoting themselves that way. And I said, well, that's all great and wonderful. Anything will work if you put effort into it. I mean, so like the cold calling, like I've talked to several people before. We have an agent here in our area, Ricky Cruz. He makes a living on cold calling, and he teaches people how to cold call. But I don't want to make 200 phone calls a day and get the phone slammed in my ear, 97% of the time. I just don't want to do that. So, and then also with these Google ads, like even with us, in the last 28 days, we've had 139,000 impressions. So you can't, if you had to spend the money to get in front of 139,000 people, I mean, oh my God, that would be, I can't even imagine how much it would cost.
No, yeah. So and that's how Google and Facebook charges you as well, by impressions.
Yeah. Right.
They're not even promising you, anybody's going to click. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you pay for pay-per-click, that's different. But it's a lot of these platforms can be based on impressions. And what you just said, 139,000 people in the last 28 days. That's YouTube puts you in front of those people for free. I mean, yeah. I think on our channel, last time I checked, we're over 30 million impressions. And I mean, what brand new real estate agent or team could you market yourself without paid to get in front of that many people? I mean, that's so powerful. So
Even if
powerful.
you did the math, like with 139,000 impressions, say, okay, so you got in front of 139,000 people, and Google does charge by the click. So like if you did the click through ad, so you only pay when somebody clicks on the ad. That's great and wonderful. Well, we have a 5.3% click through ratio. So if you take that 139,000 impressions and you take 5.3% of that, and you had to pay for those clicks, wow. I mean, you're talking a lot of money, so, and this is free. I mean, you just got to put in the effort. So, yeah, I mean, it's, listen, I'm a big advocate of it. Like I said, before the build event, when I saw you, I was ready to just bail out of real estate because it just wasn't for me, because I didn't want to do the door knocking. I didn't want to do the cold calling. I didn't want to go to every single event. I mean, I just didn't have time. Well, not only that, I probably had the time for it. I just didn't have the effort to put in. I didn't want to put that, towards that. But with this, you put just a little bit of effort. Like you said, you make evergreen content. It's always there. I mean, and people are still watching the channel, 20 years from now, they'll still be watching these videos, and they'll still be relevant, So, I mean, because we don't just, like you talk about all the time in your videos, we're not selling a property. You got to get out of the mindset of thinking like a real estate agent. You're not selling that one property. You're selling the area. You're selling the lifestyle, what it's like to live there. How far is it to the grocery store? How far is it to here? Everything within that whole area, so people can see it. They can visualize it and go, oh, okay, well, that's great. This is in the middle of everything. That's right where we want to be. So, it's just, it's actually changed our lives. So, and like I said, Aileen's trying to get off that hamster wheel. She still has a really big business. So she's, we've actually had the conversation of where she's going to have to give some things up to get what she wants to get down the line. So it's eventually she's going to have to phase herself out of that single agent mentality, and then have this thing working, because the goal is, honestly, for this thing to be turning on its own and us be sitting on a beach somewhere making 50 grand a month a piece, with this thing working by itself. That's the goal. So, and I think it'll happen. I mean, it's just, we just got to keep grinding. So, absolutely. But I wanted to thank you personally, because you changed the whole thing. I mean, like I said, when I saw your event at Build, I mean, when you spoke, I was just like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is what we got to do. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate you sharing that. And it means a lot to me. And in the end, you did the work. And so that makes me extremely proud of you and happy for you as well, because we can show a lot of people, but at the same time, it's the ones that put in the work and stay consistent, just like you said, even after not getting paid for 7 months. I mean, you have to realize, and I, that's my timeline. Really, when you look at everything, when I discovered to start researching, to filming, to publishing, it was 7 months before, closing that first deal. So, you have to ask yourself, what's your level of commitment? What are you willing to do? How long are you willing to put in that work without getting paid? And it's really not a matter of when, but just if, I mean, not if, but when. I said that backwards.
Right.
So not if, when. If you stay consistent, I mean, the one thing is if you quit, you will definitely never know, what could have been.
Right.
So you just got to stick with it. So thank you so much, Andy. I'm going to also, if you've got any referral business you need to send towards Orange Beach, Alabama, make sure you hit up my man, Andy Hollis, down there. He'll be happy to help you out, him and his partner, Aileen. And so thank you again for joining me today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next event.
Yeah. Thank you.